Joining us live from the district is Congresswoman Maxine to discuss the latest with impeachment news. Good morning, Congresswoman.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you doing?
We are doing great. And thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with us.
You're so welcome.
Of course. So first up, Pelosi said this morning on Morning Joe that she thinks Russia is involved in this situation. What do you have to say about that?
I don't know. We do know that there is this interaction between Russia and the Ukraine, Russia having invaded Crimea. And we do know that we've had people from the Trump camp that's been involved with the Ukraine in one of the presidential elections. I don't know what could be happening now, but I do know this. We know there was a conversation by this president, Trump, with the president, the new president of the Ukraine, where he basically got into a conversation where he asked for a favor, and that favor has to do with finding dirt on Biden. And so everybody is in a state of shock around here. We're not, you're not, I'm not, because we know who he is and what he's all about. He defined himself a long time ago. But people are shocked that he would go to a foreign government, a foreign country, and ask them to interfere with our elections. Well, we know that the Russians interfered with our elections in the last election, in the presidential election. As a matter of fact, many of us believe that's why he is elected, because of Russia's involvement. And so it is not absolutely a shock to many of us to see him try it all over again in a different way, all about him, all about his politics, all about him getting reelected to serve a second term. So I'm not surprised. And yes, there's something going on, perhaps with Ukraine and Russia, but we are now prepared. We're prepared for it. And I'm so pleased that the speaker came to the fight right now, and she's saying, yes, let's go forward with a formalized impeachment inquiry. I'm ready. But I've been ready for a long time. And so has BuzzFeed. You are the ones who listened to me and had me on air long before others even thought I knew what I was talking about. So I'm very appreciative for the attention that you gave to me, gave me an opportunity to talk about impeachment. And here we are today on the verge of getting started with the formalized impeachment inquiry. And I'm hopeful that we're going to go all the way to impeachment.
Well, on that note of the formal impeachment inquiry, what is needed for the articles of impeachment at this point? What else do you have to gather to move forward?
Well, here's what we're trying to formulate at this time. We know that we have something that's extremely significant with what has happened with this president and the telephone call and all of the other information that we're getting from those who witnessed him in some shape, form, or fashion, undermining our own government, undermining our own election systems, possibly. We're trying to get dirt on his opponent. And so we've got that, and that is going to be a focus. However, all of the chairpersons of the 6 committees that have been doing the investigations have started meeting. We will continue to meet, and then a decision is going to be made about what will make up an impeachment resolution.
Okay, so Congresswoman, how long do you expect this to take, and when do you expect a vote to come?
I don't know, but there has been agreement made between all of us that we're going to move very quickly, that we cannot drag this out, that this is something that we need to do rapidly while it's, on the minds of the American public. The American public is focused on what has taken place. And so we think that we can move this quickly and certainly before the year is out.
And do you think going through so many committees will allow for this to go quickly? And is it the best way to handle the situation currently?
Well, the thing about it is only one committee that will take it up. After the 6 committees, decide what should be in a resolution, it goes to the Judiciary Committee. The Judiciary Committee, by law, by Constitution, is a committee that will take up an impeachment resolution and vote on it. So after that work that is done by the 6 committee chairs, then the Judiciary Committee will have charge.
Yesterday, the New York Times published information about the whistleblower, and Trump said, quote, "You know what we used to do in the old days when we were smart with spies and treason, right? We used to handle it a little differently than we do now. Should the New York Times have withheld the details about the whistleblower?
The president of the United States has demonstrated long ago that he's a thug and he acts like a gangster. He's talked about roughing up people several different times. Also, he said he could stand on Fifth Avenue and shoot and get away with it. So we know what kind of thinking he has. And I'm not surprised that he would, in the middle of all of this, he would come out and call those people who are gathering information, who have gathered information in the interest of protecting our country, the whistleblower and others who have come forward, and call them spies. They're not spies, they're patriots. And he is not a patriot. He is exactly who he is. He's a con man. He's a dishonorable human being. He's a flawed character, and he talks like a thug.
All right. So as the impeachment investigation is increasingly focused on Ukraine, what is your committee, Financial Services, looking into?
Well, as you know, we've been focused on Deutsche Bank. Deutsche Bank, as you know, had a reputation for money laundering. Deutsche Bank loaned the president money when no other bank in the country would lend him money. And so we're looking at his finances. We've been in court. We issued a subpoena. We've gotten support from the court to say that they have to comply with the subpoena. Now the case has been taken up on the merits, and decisions are being made about the merits of the case. And so we're in court, and we'll continue to work. It may or may not be a part of the impeachment resolution, but all of us will have an opportunity to say what we've done, how far we've gone, what kind of facts we have gathered, what kind of dots we have connected, and a decision will be made about what goes on into that impeachment resolution.
I want to talk a little bit more about that investigation into Trump's relationship with Deutsche Bank. Of course, the committee's request for documents is tied up in court. You mentioned that. How are you pursuing the investigation without those documents?
We're getting documents. We have been requesting documents for quite some time, not only from Deutsche Bank, but some other banks. And so we have to continue requesting documents. As you know, Trump's lawyers raised motions about whether or not they should be releasing certain information. And of course, that has to be taken into consideration by the courts. But we are receiving documents, and we'll continue to do the work.
What have you found in those other documents that you've received from other banks?
We have received other information, some relevant, some not relevant.
Gotcha. So in late July, the House Committee on Ways and Means received an unsolicited communication from a different whistleblower stating Trump has tried to influence an audit of his tax returns, according to the Huffington Post. Do you know where that investigation stands to date? And have you heard of any more whistleblowers coming forward with information regarding Trump?
No, I don't really have more information about what has happened with all of that. All I know is that the Treasury Secretary should have turned him over, refused to do it. I do know that the chair of the Ways and Means Committee has worked painstakingly to do what is needed to try and get those documents and force them to come forth with them. I also know that the New York Attorney General has been involved in this. And so the documents, the tax returns have not, as I understand it, certainly been received by Ways and Means, and that work is still being done on that. I do believe that those tax returns have been received somewhere, and it may be in New York with the work that they've been doing, but I'm just not sure about.
Now, there are a lot of questions about who else in the president's circle should be held accountable for the Ukraine call and over what happened there. Do you think Attorney General Bill Barr should also be impeached?
Well, let me just say that Attorney General Barr has defined himself as being just the president's lawyer, not the people's lawyer that he's supposed to be, willing to do whatever it takes to protect the president. He is not a credible human being. His name has come up in this whole issue about the president's call and work that's been done with the Ukraine to try and pressure them into getting information about Biden. And so I know, given what he's done in the past, that he's guilty of being involved in either assisting Giuliani or doing other kinds of things to try and get the Ukraine and the president to come out with dirt on Biden. And so we believe that, of course, we're going to find out more information about him as the Judiciary Committee takes up the impeachment resolution.
Beyond Bill Barr, we'd like to talk about Vice President Mike Pence. Trump recently said, quote, "I think you should ask for Vice President Pence's conversation regarding Ukraine." What was your reaction to that? And what do you think should happen to Vice President Mike Pence now?
They're all involved. I don't think that the vice president went there without doing the president's bidding. First of all, we have seen that no matter what the president does, they come up with the kind of messaging to defend him, no matter what it is. None of them have had the courage, the patriotism, or the guts to stand up for what is right for our country. So I expect that Pence is part of this conspiracy to try and get Ukraine to do something in a fake investigation and come out with some dirt on Biden. So I'm looking forward to that coming out in the hearings that will be done by the Judiciary Committee as they take up the impeachment resolution.
Now, you mentioned Giuliani, and last year on Fox News, Trump's now personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, said he was challenging you to, quote, say impeachment sweetheart. Yesterday, in an Atlantic interview, he said he would be, quote, the hero in the end. What's your message for Giuliani?
Well, we know, again, what he is and how he's defined himself. He's basically, a lawyer for the president, again, who's willing to do anything. He's now shady and shoddy, and he is capable of lying, and he's done that publicly. And so we cannot believe anything that he has to say. We do know this. He had no business acting as if he was some kind of official from the United States government or the State Department carrying the message for the president of the United States. He never should have been involved in this. The president never should have used him to do his bidding and to carry a message. It's only been confusing to the Ukraine. They don't know who to listen to, whether to listen to the State Department or to listen to Giuliani. And so Giuliani is just doing what he has been known to do consistently for the president of the United States, and that is his bidding. No matter how crooked it is, no matter how dirty it is, he has no credibility.
So, Congresswoman, before we let you go, we have to bring up the fact that you have become such a star for many millennials in this country in the past few years. And yesterday, you thanked millennials in a video saying that they're the reason why the impeachment inquiry is moving forward. Why do you believe this generation is so committed to getting Trump out of office?
I don't know, but I know this. When I rolled out, they basically supported me. They tweeted with me. They talked about impeachment. They called for impeachment. I think that they now see the difference between Trump and, for example, Obama. They see the difference between Trump and even Hillary Clinton. And now they know how bad a president can be, how they can use the office of the presidency to do their own personal bidding. And so I think they are awakened. They are awoke. They have not only become woke to all of this, but they've acted on this. They've spoken on this. They've rallied on it, and they certainly have supported me.
All right, one more question. When you heard that Speaker Pelosi and more Democrats were on board for impeachment, did any part of you just want to go, I told you so?
Yeah. A lot of me wanted to do it. And I have to be subtle about it because it is not considered acceptable to just get in somebody's face after, you have really made the argument and you have won. So I'm being subtle about it, but yeah, I sure felt like that.
All right, so it's safe to say you feel vindicated.
Absolutely.
Well, Congresswoman Waters, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're so welcome. And thank you, BuzzFeed, for having me one more time.